Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Captain Fish Stick, and today we're going to talk about how to catch bass in winter, the top 5 baits that I use to catch them. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is water temperature. Of course, in the winter, that water temperature is going to get colder. So, when that water temperature gets colder, those bass are going to go deeper into the deepest part of the pond or lake that you're fishing. This is because in those deeper spots of that pond or lake that you are fishing, there is less irregular rise and fall in water temperature and oxygen level. That is something that bass do not like. So in other words, the area with the most consistent water temperature and oxygen level is where those fish are going to be during the winter. If you see docks, pilings, or structures possibly on your fish finder, these are all great areas where you should throw baits. Now let's jump into bass appetite over the winter. During this season, bass like to feed on bait fish like shad and minnows and crawfish. In my opinion, I like using a crawfish pattern jig, deep diving crankbait, or some sort of a soft plastic that gives off the appearance of a crawfish. And the reason why I like to use these crawfish patterns over anything else is because crawfish are naturally slower moving than bait fish like your shad and your minnows. Now, why would this matter? If you didn't know already, largemouth bass are cold-blooded. So naturally, as the water temperature gets lower, their body temperature is going to get lower as well. And when their body temperature falls, they don't want to be chasing your buzzbait that is zooming on the top of the water. They just don't have the energy for that. But enough of that. Let's get into the top 5 baits that I use during winter to catch largemouth bass. Coming in at number 5, deep diving jerk baits. Deep diving jerk baits are a great choice, especially in any shad or minnow pattern. Jerk baits are great because, and you're not constantly cranking. There's a lot of pauses when fishing a jerk bait. The other good thing about them is that you can get these jerk baits with different size bills, and it can affect what part of the water column you're fishing in. The beads in these jerk baits are also nice for muddier, not as visible waters. I like to fish with something that has a little bit more of a artificial color to it. Yeah, anything that's got sort of like a color that pops. Chartreuse with a blue back is a great example of something that works in muddy waters. For clear water, go natural. Like this deep diving Rapala here. These bass will be able to see, if the water is clear, these bass will be able to see this lure and hear those beads from pretty good distance. So clear water, natural colored jerkbait. Foggy water, anything that has kind of a, I don't know, like a blue, I guess a blue tint to it. This is good right here. This is a sexy shad Rapala. This is not a deep diving, but the color pattern is what you want to focus on here. Sexy shad Rapalas were great. I always carry basically these 3 colors around with me and use them at different times based on water clarity. But yeah, sexy shad. Coming in at number 4, soft plastic worms. Soft plastic worms are good because they can be fished in any part of the water, and they give just a very natural movement. The rule that I use for these is if the water's clear, I go green pumpkin, which is what these are right here. These have a white belly on them. And then muddy water, black and blue. And that's kind of just a universal rule for a lot of fishing lures out there. Doesn't matter what the season is. If it's clear, you know, green pumpkin's always a safe choice. If that water's muddy, you want to go a little bit darker and use a black and blue. This is nice because if you want that bait to go deeper, you don't need to get a whole separate bait. Just put a heavier bullet weight on there and let it sink. The way I would fish this during the winter is popping it up and down on the bottom. Coming in at number 3 is rattle traps. Rattle traps are a great search bait. The reason why these are such great search baits is because they move a little bit faster and they don't dive as deep. So you can just constantly be reeling them through water, you know, make a good long cast with them across the pond or the lake that you're fishing. I always carry a gold color and then a silver color. And then if that water is muddy, get something with chartreuse in it. It really helps. But rattle traps are good as searching baits. You know, if you don't know where those fish are, you know, you've never fished this pond or this lake before, you're not marking anything on those fish finders, you don't know where to fish, rattle traps are a great choice. Coming in at number 2 is jigs. Jigs are great. Flip them, pitch them, you can swim them, you can pop them, bounce them off rocks and other structures, stuff like that. And these particular two, if you can hear that, these have beads in them. But for these, this is kind of like a shad color, bleeding shad color that I have here. And then for muddier waters, black and blue. Sometimes I'll throw in a green pumpkin jig, but whenever I can, I like to just, you know, if those bass are eating shad, like to throw something that's close to that shad color. Another good option, which I don't have with me, is a crawfish pattern jig. Those work well. Drag those across the bottom, put a little trailer on the back of it. It'll look just like a crawfish. This bass will probably pick it up in no time. And coming in at number 1, deep diving crankbaits. I love deep diving crankbaits. These are Strike King 6SDs. I think they go about 20 plus feet, I want to say. I might be wrong. But this is a crawfish pattern, as you can see. This bait works well and all the time. What's nice about these is, you know, once you hit the bottom, you know, that big long bill is just going to scrape. It's not gonna, you know, your hooks aren't gonna get caught in anything because this bill's gonna hit it first, so you'll end up just popping right off it. So crawfish pattern, that's a must. And then again, muddier waters, chartreuse with a blue back. This is a smaller one. I don't really use this as often, but this is a great color right here, chartreuse with a blue back. Again, these baits are nice because the beads in them, that's gonna naturally attract more fish. All right, y'all, that's all I got. The only tip I have for y'all is if you haven't used one of these baits before in the winter, try it out. Experience is gonna be your best friend in fishing. I wish you all the best of luck in your winter bass fishing, and I hope this video helped you out. And stay tuned for my Florida fishing series. It will be coming out next week. See ya.